Hello, this is Mr. Jared, and in this video tutorial, I'm going to be taking you through the revolved cut demo, and then we are going to be 3D modeling this object and using that revolved cut information or knowledge to cut out this strange cylindrical cut right here. So first off, the demo says that you need to open up the file called revolved cut. This is going to be in your folder, and it's going to open up like this. And basically what I did was I just drew a square and I extruded it into a box. And then I drew a half circle here with a line going down through the middle on the top. So it just says revolve cut this sketch. So on the features tab, you can see that we have all of the additive features here. Then it's kind of divided. There's a little dividing line, and these are the subtractive features. And then there are like modification ones over here. So we are working with the revolve cut. So you learned previously that revolve takes a sketch and it wraps it around a central axis. Okay, so it's the same thing here. So when we press on that button, it says you need to select an existing sketch. So if we just hit the drop down and click on that sketch, it's asking us now for an axis of revolution. So it's the exact same type of setup, but in this case, instead of adding, it's going to subtract. So we want this center line, and it's going to take this half circle, and it went all the way around in 360 degrees, and down through here, and all the way up and around. Anything that's in its way, it's going to cut. If we hit the green check, you can now see that that just cut out that little shape. Okay, so revolve cut does the exact same thing that normal revolve does, except it removes material instead of adds it. So you can say that if you like, you don't have to, but now we're going to move on to the real activity here, and it's this one. So this activity shows that it's a basic shape. Everything is normal, something that we would do. But then you have this cylindrical surface here. So this is curved and cut. That's the tricky part. So the origin is right on the edge. It's centered left and right on this part. This is in millimeters. So I'm going to be sketching on the top plane, and I'm going to be drawing this piece first, probably cutting or extruding it down, and then cutting this off, maybe filleting, and then drawing this whole part, and then we'll do that at the very end. Okay, so pull this to your other screen if you possibly can, and let's make a new part file, and we're going to set this to millimeters, so mmgs. Then we're going to be sketching on the top plane, and we're going to be 3D modeling up. So I'm going to get the rectangle tool here, just the corner rectangle, and I'll move over to the left of my origin and kind of just zoom out a little bit and draw up this way. Then I'll hit escape, and I'm going to select the origin, hold in shift, and I'll move my mouse over this line and just let it pause there, and this little yellow dot pops up. That is actually the midpoint. So we're going to make those coincident. Now that will connect it to the dead center. If yours did not do that, you could also just click on this line, hold in shift, and click on the origin, and there's midpoint. It does the exact same thing. Okay, so two different ways of doing the same thing. So now this is centered left and right, as you can see. So we can start to dimension some of this stuff. So I'm going to get my dimension tool, and the left side going all the way up, it says it has a total length of 100. And the overall width here is 66. So let's also put in our circles, our 4 little holes. So if I could just get the circle tool and just draw 4 of them up here. Doesn't matter where they're placed because we're going to be dimensioning them and fixing them up. Okay, and it shows just by looking at the little lines that cut through everything, it shows that all of their center points are lined up. So hold in shift to click that center point and this center point, and let's make those horizontal. We'll do that for the bottom too. Okay, make those horizontal so they're straight across, and now we're going to work up. So from this one to this one, we're going to make this vertical, and then the 2 on the right, we're also going to make vertical. Okay. Now all 4 of them are also the same size, so if I just highlight all 4, or you can just go around and select all 4 of them, it doesn't matter. You're going to set them to equal. So now if I move one of these left or right, you can see they all kind of move together. They're horizontal and vertical, and they're all going to be the same size. Now we just need to dimension them. And it shows here that they all have a radius of an odd number of 12.62. It's an odd metric number. Normally you have solid numbers here. 12.62. And it says that from one circle to the other circle is 28. Okay. And from the origin to one of these circles is 14. So basically what that means is that they are centered on this block left and right. Okay. Up and down, they are 33. And from the bottom one all the way down to the origin or the bottom line, which is much easier to click, that is going to be 51. Okay. So that was a lot in a short amount of time here. You might need to pause it or rewind it a little bit. But once you have all of that, we are going to extrude this. And I'm going to be extruding it down. So we need to switch the directions. And the total thickness of this is 18. And it's hard to read because they put it on its side, but it's over here. It's 18. So we're going to be coming down to this. Okay, 18. Green check. Then we're going to be sketching on this side piece here. So get your sketching tool and select the side piece. You might need to hit Control 8 so it rotates around. And we're going to be using the line tool. I'm just going to click on this line. Make sure you don't click on the midpoint here so you don't get an extra constraint that you don't want. So we just drew a line straight over, and then it's got a tangent curve. So I showed you this technique in another example, but if you move your mouse with the line tool just back over that end dot and then move out, it will actually become the curve tool. Okay, and then I just need to close this off by coming back. Now, if yours did not do that, obviously you could just draw a line over, hit escape, draw a line down, hit escape, and then use your tangent arc. But you're going to make sure that this is tangent on both sides of this. And this obviously needs to be a horizontal line, this needs to be a vertical line. And then I just filled out the rest of the box because we're going to be cutting this corner off. So go ahead and finish your dimensions. It says from the top to this line right here is 7. Says it has a total length of 35, and it says this curve has a radius of 5. Okay. Once you have that all fully defined, we can go to the Features tab and Cut Extrude. We're just going to set this to Through All and the green check, so it cuts off that back piece. Now let's fillet the top 2 edges here. So we'll get our fillet tool just on the Features tab, and it shows that that has a fillet of 6. So we'll change that to 6, and we're just going to click this edge and that edge. Make sure you do not click on the top because it will fillet everything. You just want those 2 edges. Green check. Okay. So that looks more like the picture now. So let's draw this part down here. So we'll get our sketch tool. We'll click on this flat face. We'll hit Control 8 so it goes to a nice flat view. You might have to zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to get the circle tool first. I'm just going to draw my inside circle, draw a bigger circle, and then I'll get my line tool. And I'm going to go from this corner down to this arc, and notice it makes it tangent. So you could have done this with the lines first, but I like to draw those circles and then trim it because it just saves me less clicks because it actually adds a whole bunch of constraints already. So you see they're both tangent already and they're coincident. Now I can just trim this really quick and hit escape, and I'm all good. Okay, so let's select this center and the origin and make those vertical. And now this is centered left and right, up and down, and everything. So it's just a quicker way of drawing a shape like this. This is a common shape that you might have to draw. And we need to obviously finish this off. So click from here to here with your line tool. Now we can go ahead and dimension this. So the outside has a radius of 22. Inside, again, an odd metric number This is 19.05. From the center of that circle up to the origin, way up here, is 34, and that should be fully defined. So let's go ahead and extrude this. We want to rotate around to make sure we're extruding in the correct direction. Right now we aren't. So if we flip the direction, it says that this is 13, and that is kind of hidden in this picture. Really hard to see. It's right down here, this tiny small spot. It's 13. Okay, so we'll hit the green check. All right, so we basically have everything except for that cylindrical cut. So I would recommend saving right here because this might make your computer go a little crazy. But since we centered this part, we actually have planes that run through the middle. So this right plane is running right through this middle here. So we are going to select that right plane, get the sketch tool and hit sketch. Now we're sketching on that right plane. And if we hit Control 8, we're actually drawing right in the middle of this, and we're drawing on the side. So to make this cylindrical, if you actually take a cylinder and if you cut it, so if you think about taking a water bottle, say you cut the top off, you cut the bottom off, so you just have the round piece. If you cut it down the side, it opens up to a flat rectangle. So we're actually going to be drawing this with the rectangle. But the corner rectangle and the center rectangle only draw rectangles left or right or up and down. So we're actually going to be using this 3-point corner rectangle. This isn't a common one that we use, but in this case it works perfect. So I'm going to select this inside line here, or this outside line, rather. Let's move over to this direction, click, and then we're going to draw up on an angle. Okay, now I'm going to hit escape. And since this is connected, we also need it connected to the origin. So let's select this line, hold in Shift, and select the origin. And we're going to make them coincident so they connect. And then it shows in here inside the picture that this is at a 25-degree angle, okay? And it has a radius of 16. So remember those two numbers. So 25 degrees and a radius of 16. So we're going to do the 25 first. So we're going to select that line and the top horizontal line, and we're going to set that to 25. And that should knock it down on an angle. Okay, so it's 25 in between there. Remember, this is the top line and this angled line. And then the 16 is going to be the radius of this. Well, since we're drawing a rectangle and we're going to wrap it around this line here, this is actually the radius. So make sure when you dimension that you come out on an angle. It needs to be the true length of that line, and we're going to make that 16. So you do not want a dimension that's like this. That's the height. That's not the true length of it. Okay, so that's 16. So everything's fully defined except for this end line here. So if we just select that dot, hold in Shift, and click this top line, we'll just make those coincident so it's connected. That way it's fully defined. So we have a rectangle. Now we'll go to the Features tab, and we'll hit Revolve Cut. And the central axis, or the axis of revolution, is going to be this top line. You can kind of see what that's doing here. It's making that cylinder. Hit the green check. There's that weird cutout shape. So let's change our material. And the material is malleable cast iron, which is one of these defaults right here. So that turns it to this black color. Go to the Evaluate tab and Mass Properties, and you should get 709.95 grams. Okay, so if you got that, you are all good. You can save this and move on to the next one. If you didn't, try to rewind the video, problem solve until you have that answer. Good luck.